Hi friends, welcome back to Calm in the Chaos Homeschool. So today I'm going to do some planning for my 7th and 8th grade boys. I'm going to be thinking about how I'm going to organize all of the curriculum that I have for them. And so I have an old checklist here just to help me think of some things. I'm going to do a bit of a brain dump here just to get things started, and we'll see where things go with this. Okay, so first of all, I have daily devotions here at the top. I am going to just write DD. This year, my boys will be doing two things on their own. We're going to be finishing up Alpha and Omega life packs. And so they will each pick from one of these two. So they will just do one of those. And then the other times they will be doing Word of Life for grades 5 to 6. This is the remainder of ones that my girls started several years back. And so they're just going to finish up on those. So I'm trying to think of how often I want to do these. I think I would like to finish these up. So I'm thinking Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're going to do the life packs. And then Tuesday and Thursday, we can do these ones. I think that will work well with our schedule as well. So I'm going to just put here Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Alpha, Omega, life packs. And then Tuesday, Thursday, Word of Life. Okay, so when I make my checklist, I will indicate that here. Now, math will be next, and math, they will be doing CTC math this year, so that's no big change. So both of them will be doing CTC math. And then I have handwriting next. They will both continue with handwriting, so I will put that here. And we have always done the good and the beautiful handwriting. Next, we have phonics, and that is something that is going to be going away next year. So the one son that was still doing phonics, he is going to be doing, we'll do it 4 times a week. He'll be doing spelling. So I'm going to put up here L for my one son here and D for my other son. And so he will be doing spelling, and I'll have that happen 4 times a week. For spelling, my son is going to be finishing up spelling UCC, and he's at lesson 33. So we will be moving into D this year. So that's what spelling is. Now my other son, instead of spelling, he is going to be doing Wordly Wise, book 5. He's continuing with that. He's about halfway through. And we will alternate that with Word Roots Beginning. Now, I know it says grades 3 and 4, but I've done this before with my daughter, and I like starting with this one. I think that it has some good things that I don't want to skip, so we're going to start with that. If we get into level 1, then we can move into that, but I'm just going to start with this level. So that is Word Roots. So that is spelling/vocab. So that is something that's going to be right here on their checklist, and they'll just have different things depending on the child. Okay, so then here is where my loop stuff comes in, and here's where my thinking has to go. What am I going to put in each of their loops? So what is left for their loop? So we have Editor-in-Chief. We have My Year of Discovery. This is sort of just a fun addition. I don't have it yet, but we're going to be adding in Reading Detective. I think it's A1, which is like the level 1. We did beginner last time, so we're moving into level 1. So let me write down their loop. We have Editor-in-Chief. We have Year of Discovery. We have Reading Detective, A1. Okay, and then another thing that I'm going to be looping through is Fix-It Grammar. So what I'm going to do on my checklist this year is going to be a little bit different. I am going to prioritize Fix-It Grammar, And I'm going to try to make sure the first lesson is always on either a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday so that I can go over it with my kids. So I don't have their book 2 is the one that they'll be doing. I do have my daughter's book 3. So for example, if you've never seen Fix It Grammar before, the first lesson, it always has a lesson here, and so we can talk over the lesson together. So a lesson on each side, and then maybe we'll do an example together on the first day. And then I will sign the other ones to them, and then we'll make sure we do the first lesson together again. So I will probably dedicate most of this first line to Fix It Grammar, but I'll probably just make sure I don't do more than 4 lessons a week. And then I'll just make sure that the lesson 1 is always landing on a Monday or Wednesday. Now, the reason for that is, I'm not sure if you watched my video on my schedule, but I did a video on my schedule, so you can go back and watch that. But on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm driving my oldest to a school, and I get some time at the library with my boys. And that's when I focus on a lot of things that I need to do with them. So on Mondays, this is when they're doing their math and their independent work while we're kind of in the car a little bit into where we are in the library. And then we are doing group time Bible. So Bible, we're going to be reading Boyhood and Beyond this year. So that is something I don't need to plan. We will just do that on Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday during Bible time. And then we will do history, which we're reading the Kingfisher Encyclopedia based on Book Shark G and then H. And then we will be working on science together. So we will be working on my astronomy course. And then after that, we'll move into my earth science course. And then we do World Watch News. And then we'll be doing Spanish. So Spanish this year is going to be Breaking the Barrier Spanish, or Breaking the Spanish Barrier. Vamos, beginner A. So we will be doing this together as a group. And they do have online videos telling us how to pronounce things and stuff. So we will be doing that on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays here. And then we will have group work loop, which I'm going to talk to you about in a second here. We will have a read aloud that I'm just doing with my boys on those days. And then they will have lunch on Monday, Wednesday. Friday, we get home in time for lunch. And then we will have a little extra time here for them to do more independent work. And so this group time loop, we're going to be doing a number of things. So I'm going to actually go ahead and write those down. So group time, and that's Monday, Wednesday, Friday when we get together. So one of the first things I'm going to do with them during that group time is we will, number 1, focus on Fix It. So if there's a new lesson or a new week, we will do that. If there isn't a new lesson or a new week, we won't do that. So we'll skip that. The other thing that we will do is, this is our loop. We're going to loop in. So this is sort of, if I need to do that, I will do that first. Then we will start our loop time. So we will have Beowulf Grammar. So that is this by Guest Hollow. We had a lot of fun doing that. We are on book 3 out of 4. And so hopefully we'll be able to finish that this year. It has a nice variety of hands-on activities, and there's some cutting and pasting. They don't mind doing that. So we will loop through Beowulf Grammar. We will occasionally bring out grade 6 test prep. I thought we'd give some practice tests a try. And so I didn't want it to be too hard, though now looking at it, I probably should have gone for 7, but that's okay. We will work on this, just skills on how to take a test. So we will loop through that. And then we will loop through one of 2 different writings. So I'm going to put writing here. And that could be Wordsmith or IEW. I think it's Wonders of Science. And what I'm planning on doing is I'll probably do like 1 unit of Wordsmith. So they have different, I don't know, parts maybe. Yeah, there's different parts or different units or something. I'll do parts of this, And then I will go and do a chapter of IEW's Wonders of Science, which I don't have yet. And so this is my loop here, these 3 things. So we'll do fix it, and then we will do 1 or 2 of these things. Usually we can get through 2. So we'll just kind of rotate through those. I think I won't do this one quite as often, or maybe I'll alternate between writing and Beowulf, writing and this test prep. Or if I'm not doing Fix It Grammar that day, we'll do Beowulf Grammar. That's also a possible way. So I don't know. I haven't decided on what I'll do with that. I kind of feel out at the beginning, but this is sort of just a rough idea of what we'll do. So those are the loop subjects that we'll be doing when I'm working with the boys. Now, one more thing that you haven't seen yet, I believe it's the last thing maybe, is on Friday, I will not be doing their regular math with them. This is going to be different. We are going to be doing pet store math on Friday, and that will be something we do together, and we will just spend maybe about half an hour on it. So this is simply Charlotte Mason's Your Business Math series, pet store math. And so basically they will be running a pet store. They'll have to like stock inventory and just do some basic calculations, and it goes through a year of the life of a pet store. And so I thought that'd be something fun to do on Fridays. So we're doing that on Fridays. My next step is these things I'm just going to loop. I don't really care how many lessons there are. I do want to make sure we go through Fix It Grammar, get through that. So that is why that will be priority. We will do that on here. Many of these days I will do it on there. So maybe try to do it about 4 days a week. And so the parts that are left over, I can fill in with these other things here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to calculate how many of these are left, how many I would like to complete in the year, and just do a basic calculation. So first of all, editor-in-chief, this is for grades 4 and 5, but this is something that we started last year. We have just a few lessons left. Actually, let me get out my son's destroyed binder. This is his old binder. Let me quickly find editor-in-chief. Okay, let's see how many he has left in here. So it looks like we have a lesson here that we haven't done, and then we'll be starting at lesson 41, and it goes all the way to lesson 68. So let me quickly calculate that. Okay, so with the number of lessons that are left, and then a few times to go over with my boys over the new lesson, I made it 31, though I think including corrections, I should probably make that 35. So I'm going to just write 35 just to give it a little more weight there. Year of Discovery, this is not something I really care if we finish or not. I'll probably just give them a page every so often just for fun. And so I'm not going to even calculate that. I'll just have that pop up ever so often. Reading Detective, I'm going to have to go online and take a look at that. So give me a second there. Okay, so there are 54 actual lessons, but I'm going to need to check in with them pretty often. So I'm going to add some lessons that we're just checking in. So 54, I'm going to say every 5 lessons I need to check in. So I'm going to say 64. So 64 lessons in total. Now, Fix It Grammar, I am not exactly sure. There's usually between 30 and 32 weeks, I believe, and they are 4-day weeks. So I'm going to say 30 weeks, 4-day weeks. So that's 120 lessons. But I really am going to emphasize that. So hopefully we'll finish that. And then at some point, these other ones will come up more often. So the other things that I do like to do sometimes, but I probably won't begin the year with, I like to have them doing typing, and I like to have them doing something like iReady. This is something that we get from our parent partnership program. It's supposed to focus on skills that they need, but I don't think I'm going to start the year with that. That's kind of more a filler to me. They do typing. They've done typing a lot. So we don't really need to start with that. And iReady is more after we've done the test. If we need to focus on something a little more, we can do that. So I'm really just going to focus on these things in my loop. And so what I'm seeing is if I'm weighing these, I would say I want to do this 4 times in a week. I would like to do this one 2 times a week. I would like to do this one 1 time a week. And year of discovery, really, if I'm looking at a full week here, I have roughly 10 spots here in my loop. So there's 10 spots. So we already have 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm not going to be doing year of discovery a ton. I would like to try to make this number add up to 10. So maybe 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to say 2 times year of discovery just to have a little more fun, have it come in ever so often. So I think that's going to be my weighting. So we're going to be doing this the most, and then these two will kind of alternate, and occasionally we'll have an editor in chief go in there. So this here is a sample of my loop thing that I've done in the past. I'm not sure if I'm going to need to do that with just this many things. I do like to pre-write the lessons so that it's available, so that when I'm copying things down, let me just show you a messy copy here. So when I'm copying things down, I already have written down the pages. So when I'm planning my lessons for the week, I can just fill out my loop very easily. I just follow along and write these down. And as I do that, OC means on the chart. I check that off. And then the next week, I just start wherever we left off. So I do like to have this for that. I'm not sure if I'm going to need that with such a simple loop. And then Fix It Grammar is just going to be doing the next thing. So I think I will need a chart like that because reading detectives, I'm going to need to know like what lesson we're on or if it's a day to stop and do corrections with my kids. Year of discovery, I will want to keep track of what page I want them to do because I just need to hold them accountable. So that will need to be on their loop. And then editor in chief, I will have to do that too. So I might not need to put a Fix It Grammar on there because it's very predictable. It's going to be week 1, day 1, week 1, day 2, week 1, day 3, etc. So that is not unpredictable. I might not have to put that on the loop, but just to make everything else easy, I do think I want to create something like this. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so here I am on the computer. This was one of my boys' loop from last year. Sometimes I have different loops for my 2 boys when they're doing different things. This year I might not have to. So some of these are changing. So I'm going to quickly change the loop here. And I'm going to put in how often we do the things. So I don't need to put Fix It Grammar in here, so I'm skipping that. I do need to put Reading Detective. So we have that. And then after Reading Detective, we will do A Year of Discovery. And then we will do Reading Detective. And then we will do Editor in Chief. And I think I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to cut this and put it here. And we will do Year of Discovery. And I really don't want them to have to do Editor in Chief and Reading Detective on the same day. So I might just go a little heavier on Year of Discovery for now. And eventually we can change that if we want. But I will just do another Year of Discovery. And then we will just repeat this. So really, we will have a balance of Reading Detective, Fix It Grammar, Year of Discovery, and Editor in Chief. And Editor in Chief is going to show up the least often. So let me see. In a week, if we had Fix It 4 times, 1, 2, let's say Fix It, Fix It, Fix It, Fix It. And then we would have 6 more spots. So we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we would get through everything that I want each week if we had a normal 5-day week. So I think I'm happy with that. And then, like I said, once Fix It is gone, which it'll end a little earlier in the year if we can do it 4 times a week, we will finish up these things a little more. So I think that's going to work for us for now. And I do change this throughout the year. So I'm going to just take this up here and paste it in. Paste it in. Okay, fits perfectly. Paste it and paste it. And so this is our rotation. And what this will do is it will let me write the exact pages that I want to put on our checklist every week. And so I don't have to like open up the actual pages and look and see what assignment I can pre-plan that. And I don't actually need to make two different loops at this point. So I'm just going to put boys loop, and then I can just put this both onto their loops. And we'll see if they stick together, then I can do that all year. If we need to break apart at some point, or if one needs to do something that the other one doesn't need to do, then I can change this. So that is what I'm going to be doing for now. And very, very simple loop this year. I feel like I've simplified a bit on my boys' variety of things, which is not a bad thing. Now, I did format this so that it exactly fits on 2 pages. So I can copy this onto a 2-sided page, and then I don't copy this one. This is just my planning sheet. And like I said, this is super simple compared to past years. Had a lot more different things, but I will share a link to a sample that is formatted like this. So if you want to use it for yourself, if that's something you're interested in doing for your checklist. So I will put that below if you're interested in using something like that. And then here is a look at my checklist for the next year. I've made a few edits. I'm going to go ahead and put in here that we are doing Life Pack. So I'll put LP for Life Pack Bible on these days, and then we will do Word of Life on these days. So I'll put that in here so I don't have to think about that. And then, like I said, I'm going to move this review. It used to be here. I'm going to move that on to Thursdays. And then this is going to be the pet store math day. So I think I'll just put it as a blank, but we will do it because that's something we do as a group. So I don't need to put that on here. And then I have one son who does handwriting 3 days a week. One son does handwriting 4 days a week. So I'm going to keep that. Writing, I have had that on here. Do I need that? Because generally I'm doing that with them. I think I will leave that because sometimes I was writing like finish up your final draft here. So I'm going to put that here, and I'm going to actually open this up and use that as I need. So I might not need to write anything in here, but I'm going to have it open as a space in case I do. So let me just copy and paste this here. Okay, so I'm going to have writing. I'm going to say it 3 days a week. And then I have my loop, and here I have fix it grammar. So I'm going to put that here as well. And it will be, this is just to remind me that I want to make sure I start the lesson on one of the days that we're together, but we will do it no more than 4 times a week. So, and then this one, what is SW? I have no idea why I put SW here. So I am going to go ahead and get rid of that for now. Okay, no idea what I was doing there. Okay, and then as far as reading, I have oral narration, reading log, oral narration, reading log. And we are moving away from the reading log and we're going into just narration. So I'm going to put N for narration, or I'll put written narration. So they will do, when they read, after they read their 20 minutes, they will do an oral narration on Monday and Wednesday, and then we'll do a written narration on Tuesday and Thursday, and then Friday is just a read, and they don't have to tell me what they read that day. And then I have a cubby check because their cubbies are always a mess. So that is one son, and then the other son. Oh, I need to add in his vocabulary. So I'm going to add a row above, and this is going to be vocabulary. So this is my son who's doing the vocabulary. So I'm going to copy 4 of these, and I'm going to change this to Wordly Wise and Word Roots. And we will make this dark. So I do try to front load, try not to have too much on Fridays. So I'm going to make that dark there. Okay, and then another possibility, if we are super busy on Fridays, it's possible that I will get rid of some of these things in the loop. I also, if we're doing something like we have our parent partnership program on Tuesdays, it's highly likely I will eliminate one of these in the loop as well. So this is kind of like my ideal schedule. This is like if we're not really doing a whole lot that week. But if things start to get busy, I can black out some of these loops and we just have to do what we can while it's busy. And then at the end of the year or whenever we don't have those commitments, we can add them back in. So this is what I hope to do. It's not always what I get to do. All right, so I'm going to move down to my other son and make sure that everything here is correct. So let's add that in here. So this is another one that I can share with you if you'd like. I can take my boys' names out here and I will share a copy of this below and you can use it how you like. So you can add rows. It's already formatted. I have it so it fits 2 on a page. So if that's something that is helpful, I will link that below as well. So in case I'm not clear on this, what I do each week is I print this off and then I go ahead and fill in the page numbers that we're doing. So I'll fill in the page numbers for these. I don't usually fill in the math. And actually that reminds me, I do want to have 3 check boxes for math. That is something I added later in the year on my other sheet. So let me do that. Now, the reason why I have 3 check boxes for math is we usually start a new lesson, we go ahead and review an old lesson on CTC math, and then we do like speed drills. So I'm thinking of trying out extra math this year for that as something different to do. And then on Thursdays, CTC has review sheets. So I was thinking of doing the review sheets on those days. So that's why I have 3 boxes there. But anyways, I just go ahead and I fill this out for the week and then I cut it in half, give it to my boys, and then they know what to do when it's independent work time. And like I said, this writing is something I do with them, but this is just more of a place for me to write something down if I need to remember what we're doing next. So that's how I use this checklist. So that is my beginning of the year planning for my boys. I have done something very similar, I would say most years of my homeschooling. This checklist thing, I think my friend told me about using a checklist like this our first year. So we've been using basically something that looks like this from my first year of homeschooling. We're going into my 6th year of homeschooling. We've always had a checklist like this for the boys anyways. I do something different for my 9th and 10th grader, which I started about 3 years ago with them. But having just some regular items that we do every day, focusing, like here he needed to focus on phonics, so we emphasized that, but then just having a loop with some variety as far as other items, language arts or typing and things like that has been pretty normal, pretty standard for us since we started homeschooling, and then just having the reading at the bottom. Then this part here, my whole Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule started last year, and it's been fun to just have another kind of group time. My boys both do very well with the group work. They don't love the independent work so much. One of my sons doesn't love the independent work so much. That's where we struggle the most, but that's something he needs to learn to do. So it's nice that we have several days where we can do stuff together as a group. That works out really well for him. But that is sort of what I do at the beginning of each year, just kind of think through how often I want to do what and kind of come up with my formula to start the year. I do make changes throughout the year as maybe we're finishing something more and I need to focus on something else, or we run out of something and we're maybe ending up doing too much of something. Yeah, so I do occasionally go through and update my loop, but this is a good start for the school year. I hope this was helpful. And if you like videos like this, don't forget to come back and watch my other planning videos. Don't forget to give me a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for coming today, and I hope to see you all in a future video. Bye, everyone.